Imagine waking up to life in a mysterious game, where hell breaks loose and all you have to do is try as much as you can to survive. The story begins when a new immersive virtual reality game appears called King of Hell. A particular gamer finds his way into a strange world. On getting there, he kills a little ghost and even more. After finding out it levels up his stats. However, he is later ambushed and killed by other players. Instead of waking up in his world, he finds himself being treated as a king in another world. A good number of beautiful girls pose as his attendants, referring to him as King Yama. He is surprised but later resolves to take advantage of the situation by fully satisfying himself. He is interrupted by a ghost general, whom the emperor had sent to check on the jurisdiction of King Yama and had been told to return to give a report about him. He is even more confused that he is asked to give a report to some emperors through their representatives that had shown up without notice. The attendants ask about the emperors as they should be at the meeting themselves. The representative explains that the emperors are busy attending to other matters, unlike young King Yama who has nothing to keep him busy. This infuriates the attendants, who defend him, claiming that he is no longer little, as he is growing already. The supposed game opponents are progressing on their missions to trick gamers into believing that the death thing has no serious impact. However, more than 3 million people have entered the game, and none have realized that they have ended up in real hell. To state further, whenever a player is injured, he will lose his energy, and that will get absorbed into hell. The young gamer, whom they had labeled as King Yama, just sits silently thinking instead of asking any questions. He had figured that it wasn't just a game but a real hell, which means all the monsters, attendants, and bosses are actually real ghosts. This also means that his body is not just a game character, but the actual King Yama. While he is lost in these thoughts, the attendants and the emperor's representative engage in a heated argument. This infuriates the young boy, who adjourns the meeting immediately. The attendants quickly usher him to take his bath and rest thereafter. He is welcomed back to the King of Hell level, and he is also recognized as Player Zhangshou, which is his real name instead of Yama. He has been revived in the beginner village. He was to rest for 30 minutes, which explains his stay at the palace level as King Yama. He is back to the beginner village and must struggle to earn points again, and also avoid getting killed by his opponents. Zhang is back in his world as a normal student. He engages in a conversation with his best friend, whose name is Lu Zifeng, about the newly invented game. However, a few days later, things changed with his best friend, who fell into a coma. His mother gets really disturbed, claiming that his obsession with the game must have caused it. The doctor explains that they need to wait for him to wake up, as they cannot really do anything to make him better at the time. Zhang, on hearing this, also gets perturbed and decides to get to the root of the problem. He sets out to find out the reason for his friend's coma after playing the game. Zhang finds out that the game is no ordinary game, but a trap set by the ghosts in hell that want the energy of humans. This is the reason why players feel really tired after playing the game, and it is also the reason for their being forced to go offline after they die. Zhang gets distracted by a beautiful woman who beckons him to get out of her way because he was an obstruction. He drools over her skills for a while and remembers he has an assignment to finish. He comes across a prison where he is almost killed, but overcomes his opponent. Zhang continues with his journey as a player in the game so he can get to the Peach Blossom Valley and stop the ghosts from carrying out any further plans. He finds out that the Ghost Emperor has sent one of his workers to harvest energy in the Peach Blossom Valley. Zifeng probably got his energy harvested, which has resulted in his soul not being able to return. He decides to transmigrate into King Yama's body so he can have access to further information. He gets distracted by the girl he had met earlier. However, her skills were not really helping her this time as he stepped forward to assist her, so she could reciprocate in the future when he might need her. The situation takes a different turn after he helps her, as he finds himself back in the palace as King Yama. It looked like he had just unlocked another luxury life. He plays along with the attendants this time, asking for the 4 emperors who were supposed to still be present for the meeting. They said he had been knocked out earlier for a while and was just waking up. However, the meeting had been held. Zhang is logged out of the palace, and he is informed that his effect on the Ice Crystal Soul has ended. He complains that the duration is too short. Zhang proceeds to continue the game, but is interrupted by the girl from the previous meeting. He uses ice attacks to destroy the swamp ghosts that appeared on their way. She is surprised at this technique, while he is surprised that such things are the source of money in the game. He explains that he learnt it from NPCs in the beginner's village that sell a guidebook, which contains information about tackling oppositions. The girl quickly remembers that she had also gotten the book, but is confused about her. Zhang had quickly glanced through it to attend to situations quickly. Zhang, however, explains that he did not buy the book. Rather, he had just glanced through it since he had the ability to memorize things quickly. He excuses himself from the girl, stating that she should do her homework in advance if she does not want to get caught up in desperate situations again. He also explains that no matter how good her equipment is, it'll be useless. Jong had planned to separate from her intentionally, so she could ask him not to leave her but partner up with her, which eventually played out the way he wanted. He trashed the idea of partnering up with her for a while deliberately so she could not see the desperation in his countenance. They are attacked by a rare elite dungeon while trying to arrive at a general agreement. He grabs her hand quickly and beckons her to follow him. The rare elite dungeon can be defeated normally by someone who has attained level 5. However, he could do it with the girl as she is rich and is in addition to his assistants. Jong's opponents had first arrived at the entrance of the elite dungeon. They are attacked by a turbocharged banana, which increases a player's movement speed by 10%. The main purpose of it is to attack and to cause the opponents to receive 100% slip damage. They could not avoid the attack irrespective of how careful they were. They express their anger at Jong and his accomplice as they both get away from their helpless opponents. Immediately, they enter the entrance of the elite dungeon. It is closed temporarily while the time of its next opening is unknown. The opponents are exasperated that they cannot make it into the dungeon, which only opens every 10 days. The opponents resolve to wait for them to come out of the dungeon to get killed, since their levels are too low to beat the dungeon. There are majorly 5 dungeons near the beginner's village, which include Courage, Power, Skill, Speed, and Luck. The first 4 dungeons are easy to understand. They are to test the player's abilities, so clearing the dungeon isn't very difficult, and the rewards are not that good. However, for the Luck dungeon, it is a completely different case because it is really based on luck. The monsters in the dungeon appear randomly each time and each of them will be of different attributes. If one wants to defeat them, such an individual must attack the opposite attribute. Jong and his accomplice are busy trying to defeat the monsters they encountered. Although the opponents had higher chances of making it out of the dungeon successfully, because they were more experienced, they missed their opportunity of getting into the dungeon. Contrary to their expectations, Jong and his female accomplice make progress with eliminating the dungeon monsters while their probability of losing declines dramatically. They had made use of opposing attributes and resolved to share the equipment equally after clearing the dungeon. Jong and his accomplice completed the Lucky 3 test and got a reward of 1,500 experience points. This automatically promotes Jong to level 7. They are also able to obtain certain items like a weapon, an increase in active skills and movement speed, an accessory, and magic resistance. Jong, however, resolves into taking only the weapon, while his accomplice takes the rest of the items. She tries to level up her stats, which includes putting all her soul points into courage, while Jong tries to enlighten her. He explains that every player starts off with 100 experience points. The experience needed to level up will be 0.5 times the max experience points. This means one needs to get to level 2, and then 75 to get to level 3. Players gain 3 points of soul every time they level up, and they can upgrade their attributes using the soul force. The soul force points cannot be returned. Hence, one must be careful when deciding to upgrade. He explains that, irrespective of the fact that she is a swordman, she needs to take other attributes into account in order to be well-rounded. They had both completed the dungeon task and must head out immediately to the Earthbound. However, they are ambushed by players like them who are their opponents. The opponents had waited patiently in order to eliminate them. It is unknown to them that their levels are bound to be upgraded after completing the dungeon task. Jong slashes through the weapons of his opponents, to their surprise. Jong states that he has no intention of punishing all of them, but since they attacked first, he will not overlook their opposition. The girl that had partnered up with him also deals with them severely as they eventually flee the dungeon entrance, asking him to forgive them and referring to him as their big brother. He warns them to desist from attacking and killing other players, as ghosts are their common enemy. Jong asks his partner if she intends to follow him to the Earthbound or if they should part ways. She states that their chemistry is pretty good and she'd like to stick with him. They needed to set out immediately so they could get to the Peach Bottom Valley before dusk the next day. She changes into an assassin outfit she had gotten from the store. Jong is aroused by her seductive appearance as he questions her about getting an assassin outfit when she is a swordsman. The seduction fails with Jong teasing her with words. This infuriates his partner, who angrily beckons him to keep quiet and focus on the journey. They come across a few other players on their way to the Peach Blossom Valley. These players are also on the same quest as theirs, because news that rare items will appear in the Peach Blossom Valley has reached everyone. Luckily, they both arrived at the Peach Blossom Valley before any other player. Jong's partner tells him to hurry as she does not want any other person to get the items before them. Jong suggests that they take a break and not rush things. This infuriates his partner, whom his idea seems quite unreasonable to, since they were already at the proposed destination. Zhang explains that his reason for staying back for a while is that most high-level players will be in the Peach Blossom Valley, and since his equipment is so poor, he'll be walking straight into the tiger's mouth if he leaves for the valley now. His partner argues that the items she has acquired should be enough to bring down the enemy and acquire more from the Peach Blossom Valley. Zhang counters her with the opinion that her items are too messy and random, and it is impossible to use them effectively. He explains that he was rushing to the Peach Blossom Valley and could not upgrade his equipment. She suggests they'd find a shop and get new equipment. They found one close to the mountain and were able to get the equipment. However, Zhang gets into a fight with the store owner. The players are assembled in the Peach Blossom Valley. A temporary event is scheduled to begin where random rewards will be dropped when attacking monsters. Players who deal fatal attacks on monsters will receive rare equipment. The players are frustrated because they have been delayed in the valley for a while without the monsters showing up. Immediately, they started complaining. An earthquake began following the approach of the monsters. The player becomes on alert, immediately charging for the monster to earn points and acquire items. However, the monster crushed the players, who charged forward. The other players are confused because the attack shouldn't be complicated at the first level. Many other players are defeated, while some suggest that they retreat from the monster that is set to kill them since it is stronger than they are. The monster runs after them, stating that he will not let any of the players escape. All the players lost 90% of their points to the attack that was supposed to be minor. Zhang and his partner intervened just as the monster is about to take advantage of the other weak players. Zhang had purchased a golden underworld outfit that was worth over 10,000 and a roaring thunder sword worth 100,000. He attacks the monster, almost defeating it. The monster revolts but is too weak to handle Zhang, who comes to the Peach Blossom Valley prepared. Zhang resolves to kill the monster quickly before he recovers from the previous attack. Zhang uses a control-hit combo to attack the monster who was trying to haunt all the players. The other players are surprised that a newbie like him can use a high-level technique that he could not even use. However, the monster suddenly regains his strength, hitting Zhang in the face. Zhang, on the other hand, did not lose too much energy because the golden underworld outfit he had purchased gives one a 50% chance of dodging and even reduces 70% of the damage received. Zhang charges forward to attack the monster, who has increased his speed and energy so that Zhang will not be able to reach him. Zhang changes his technique and weapon. He uses a blade skill that speeds him up instantly, increasing his speed by 100%. Zhang eventually succeeds in dealing the last hit to the broken ghost general. He had also earned a reward during the fight. The monster retreats in defeat, stating that Zhang knew about his weakness, which was strange. He is suspicious of Zhang and resolves to come back for him. Zhang understood this immediately. He knew he had exposed himself, and if it was reported to the emperor, he would be in danger. He grabs his partner with force, telling her to go with him. She is confused at the sudden rush but decides to trust him. He said they had to find a secluded place for her to kill him. This is Zhang's scheme to find his way to the palace as King Yama before the real King Yama finds out about him. Zhang's partner hesitates for a while, but reluctantly kills him later. She pierces through his belly with a sword. He feels the exact pain he would have felt if the elimination was in his world. His energy withdraws drastically as he dissolves into King Yama. He wakes up to the attendants again, who referred to him as Your Highness. Since he had a purpose, he had already mastered how to play along like King Yama. Zhang says he feels a bit dizzy knowing he must have blacked out as Yama while he was in the beginner's village as player Zhang. He leans forward and inquires about the reincarnation well. The attendants found this strange, as the original King Yama had set it up in the 9 underworld palaces. Zhang quickly changes his speech, stating that he remembers but still needs to be led there. He had shouted at one of the attendants, but had also apologized to her immediately. She finds this very strange, as the real King Yama does not possess such a personality. The typical King Yama has never shown his friendly side to anyone. She leads Zhang to the reincarnation well. Zhang learns from the reincarnation well that the broken ghost general, which is the monster he had defeated at the Peach Blossom Valley, had reincarnated at the well 3 minutes before Zhang arrived. He had threatened to find the person who leaked his weakness and report the issue to the Ghost Emperor. Zhang immediately orders his attendants to go after the Ghost General immediately. The Ghost General is on a quest to meet with the Ghost Emperor. He sees a little creature who empowers him with a dark-splitting wave dragon, which is the fastest mount that can transport him to the Emperor quickly as he had requested. Zhang arrives at the bank of the river only to see that the Ghost General has taken off on the dragon to report to the Emperor. Zhang attacks him immediately to prevent the journey. The Ghost General whom Zhang had attacked, destroying his mount, swims out of the river. He is surprised at the actions of King Yama, whom he did not know was Zhang in disguise. Zhang beckons his attendant to stand back while he steps forward to interrogate the Ghost General. Zhang must do his best to keep him from reporting to the Emperor with his identity hidden. He asks the Ghost Emperor where he is rushing off to, as there is no need to leave the palace in a hurry. The Ghost General explains that he has just come and has something strange and must report it to the Emperor immediately. Zhang said he would take responsibility for reporting back to the Ghost Emperor, as the Ghost General seemed to look down on him. The Ghost General retreats quickly. He says that a low being like himself could never think of looking down on King Yama. He explains that it is quite certain that someone must have leaked out some information. This statement infuriates Zhang's attendant, who lashes out at the Ghost General for suspecting Yama. The Ghost Emperor ignores them and tries to exit, as Zhang decides to take advantage of the situation by attacking the Ghost General. Zhang uses the smallest and stealthiest weapon to attack from behind, after which he summons the underworld ghost sickle. He immediately switches his intentions to avoid suspicion. He says he is just trying to test his new weapon, and that the Ghost General has no cause to panic. The sickle, however, is more powerful than Zhang's equipment, as it directly draws out energy instead of blood. The Ghost General is not convinced and claims that Zhang had tried to attack him. He threatens to report to the Emperor, who will never let him get away easily. Zhang admits to the attack as intentional because the presence of the Ghost General infuriates him. Zhang attacks him again as his attendant supports his attack, hence overpowering the Ghost General, knowing that he will never be able to reincarnate if he is killed with the sickle. Zhang's identity is safe after getting rid of the Ghost General. However, he needs to start collecting all the possible information he might need, as he does not know how much longer he'll be able to stay at King Yama's palace. He finds his way into King Yama's study after telling the attendant to wait outside. He searches for any information that could be of help to him, because, since King Yama played a dominant role in the creation of the game, he should have core information in his library. Zhang is aware that if he eventually gets the core details of the game, he'll be extraordinary. Zhang's attendant begins to suspect that he might not be King Yama. Although King Yama had always wanted to kill the broken Ghost General, the need to kill him was not planned to happen as early as it happened. King Yama had always advised himself to endure the Ghost General while he focused on other situations. The elimination was rather rapid. Her thoughts began to wander. She thinks that Zhang must have killed the Ghost Emperor because he had tried to attack her. She begins to feel important in King Yama's eyes. However, Zhang is still busy at King Yama's library, trying to find the core details of the game. He eventually finds it and begins to read through it to acquire more knowledge. He finds out that King Yama designed the upgrades, items, and weapon mechanism all by himself, as it was amazing to him. He finds out that King Yama had hidden Easter eggs, as there is a place where one can get double experience points in the tongue-ripping prison. Zhang comes across a page that has the Ghost Wave plan. He deduces from the book that the 4 Ghost Emperors are extremely determined to absorb large amounts of energy from the human world. King Yama had written that he had no choice but to lift the restrictions at a certain time for them to run wild, and even let them reincarnate on the spot. When the appointed time comes, players will have to face an endless wave of strength and ghosts that cannot be eliminated. The Ghost Wave will start on the night of 9th September and persist for 6 hours. King Yama deliberately did not make the system send out a notice to prevent players from making preparations and grouping together. The protective barrier around the beginner's village will be taken down to allow the Ghost Wave to invade and destroy the crystal. This way, it will prevent the players from going online to be killed on the spot. Zhang tries to read further, but he suddenly begins to lose consciousness. It must be time to go, he had thought. His attendant quickly rushes in trying to help him up. He scolds her for touching him. She withdraws quickly, asking Zhang to punish her for being presumptuous. Zhang blacks out of King Yama's body and goes back to the beginner's village. He tries to stop his friend from going online after what he has seen in King Yama's study. He is not allowed to go offline. Zhang decides to take advantage of the crisis. He can gain triple the amount of experience from eliminating ghosts, which is definitely a great opportunity to make faster progress. He must seize the vantage point to succeed at this. After a while, the sky began to change its color, and everything that King Yama had written began to take place. Zhang observes a lady who is trying to overpower some monsters. Zhang had already found a solution to her problem and the cause of her situation. She has heavy firepower and should constantly move to avoid being surrounded by the enemy. However, she did not move, which resulted in her getting cornered by the mandrill ghosts. This might get her killed in a short while. Zhang resolves to ask her to join his party after helping her. However, before asking her, he checks the rewards he got from the battle he fought in the Peach Blossom Valley. He sees that he has shot up from level 8 to level 15. He also checks for rare items, which he must have gotten from the valley. Zhang did not acquire new items as he was only congratulated for defeating the broken Ghost General. He received 10,086 gold coins as a gift. Zhang helps the lady he had seen previously after calculating his wins. She is impressed by his skills, as she makes satisfactory comments. However, the Ghost Wave was active and monsters would reincarnate with its influence. Zhang leads the lady he had saved to the mountaintop to prevent the reincarnation of the monsters from harming them. She is impressed by his great skill and inquires to know where he had gotten the equipment he was using. Zhang says that it is a flying claw from the beginner village's general shop, and it costs only 3 gold coins. She is very impressed at everything that Zhang keeps doing and begs him to let her stick with him. She says she has never met a level 15 player and that he was the first. Zhang agrees and she begins to bombard him with numerous questions immediately. Zhang ignores her and distributes his points at a ratio of 2 to 1, after which he will give the remaining to Yama and activate his exclusive. Zhang rests with his new partner for a bit, but this is soon interrupted as she informs him that some certain people are coming. They are spotted by undead ghost soldiers who died in major battles of the past, well organized and highly disciplined. Single attack power is not strong, but in groups, they are extremely powerful. Zhang gives her the instruction to open fire first to hold them off while he examines the situation before deciding what to do. Zhang had thought that they could both spend the night on the mountaintop before the attack. He, however, rested assured that they could overcome the hurdles with the protection of the Gatling. Zhang's partner is attacked unexpectedly as she falls back forcefully. The soldiers begin to approach them as Zhang's partner begins to panic. She turns to him, telling him that her Gatling cannot shoot any further and they must do something quickly. Zhang had caused the chaos himself by using the ghost wave, which completely lifted the restriction on ghosts. He is even more certain that they would not let any player escape. If they remain on the mountaintop, they'll only attract more powerful enemies. He carries his partner and announces that they will be fighting somewhere else. They switch positions on Zhang's instructions as they summon the Great Sword. He beckons her to hold on tight to him while they attack the ghost soldiers. In the process, Zhang acquires the title, taking the head of the general among millions of troops. The soldiers that were attacked have a revived energy, after which they give Zhang and his accomplice a hot chase. This is, however, part of Zhang's strategy to seize them in a place where they will be unable to revive their energy. Zhang suggests that they head straight to the dungeon. His partner argues against this, but he ignores her and gives her reasons for his action. He explains that all the monsters will reincarnate that night, which means they can continuously clear dungeons while they earn points. The experience points they get that night will be tripled, and the opportunity must be grabbed. Their conversation is interrupted by the first partner he had worked with at the beginner village. She approaches him and hugs him, explaining that the beginner village was full of ghosts and could not be killed at all. She states that a lot of players that went online were immediately ambushed and killed by ghosts. Zhang is shocked that people can still go online despite reading from King Yama's book, that no one will be able to go online during the ghost wave. Zhang is attacked by a girl he had once worked with. He tells her that it is not the time to attack one another as players. His new accomplice contributes to this, stating that their priority is to stick together and not to attack each other. However, she ignores Zhang and does not hesitate to strike him despite his peaceful approach. There is an explosion thereafter. Zhang could no longer be found by the two ladies as they called out his name in the smoke. However, Zhang suddenly shows up behind the lady who had caused the explosion, telling her to be calm as they were never enemies. She is surprised at his survival and speed. Zhang had used the flickered charm to protect himself from the explosion. He tries to make friends with her, but she refuses and tells Zhang and his partner to leave the dungeon as it is their territory. Zhang asks that she let them in, since she is not making any attempt to go into the dungeon herself. She explains that the reason for her hesitation is that 3 of her teammates died on their 3rd run of the dungeon. Zhang then tells her to not bother waiting for her teammates as none of them will be able to appear online anymore that night. Zhang then reviews Yama's book in his mind. The game must have been non-modified because, although players can still go online, those who have died will never be able to log in again during the Ghost Wave. King Yama must have either changed his mind or the 4 Ghost Emperors must have bypassed him and modified some rules. She eventually agrees to let Zhang and his partner into the dungeon. Zhang asks her to join their team. Since she is very familiar with the dungeon, the 3 then joined forces. Lang Yuning had pondered on some things before joining forces with Zhang and his partner, whose name is Meng. Zhang is a player who possesses equipment and technique level that is significantly higher than the other players in the tongue-ripping prison. Len did not really appreciate his character but must take advantage of the moment by teaming up with him to farm for more experience. The 3 of them head into the dungeon together. Lang reports to Zhang that she has spoken with his sister, who says he had been online at the game for a few days, and she will not hesitate to call for an ambulance if he does not wake up. Lang advises him to strike a balance between work and rest, and after clearing the dungeon, he should go offline and take a break. Lang leads them into the chambers of the dungeon and tells them to listen to whatever she says if they must win. They approach a pit that produces the stench of the earth's dragon blood, as it did not have the time to dry since it revived so quickly. Suddenly, a large monster with thick scales approaches them. Lang decides to adapt the same method she and her teammates had adapted to. However, Zhang quickly processes the situation and deciphers that the monster remembers the way it was killed the previous time before reincarnating, and it will only be posing danger to them if they adapt the same method the fourth time. Zhang stops them, explaining that it is a trap. Immediately, Zhang warns that the monster might be setting a trap. The two ladies withdraw. However, this did not stop the attack of the monster. Zhang activates his golden underworld outfit, which possesses a 50% chance of dodging attacks and reduces 70% of damage received. He instructs Xiaolo, who had joined them in the dungeon, to throw as many thunder vines as possible. Xiaolo was his first partner in the beginner's village. Xiaolo's thunder vine is ineffective, she reports to Zhang. Meng says that the reason for its ineffectiveness is that opposing elements can never do much against a high-level monster. Zhang suggests that 2 thunder vines can bind the monster for at least 3 seconds, and tells Xiaolu to throw 2 more thunder vines on his signal. Zhang tells the 3 ladies to step back and says he will deal with it. Xiaolu protests, asking if he is crazy, as the 4 of them are no match for the monster originally. Talk more of a person. Zhang says his reason for choosing the dungeon in the first place is because he knows the Dagon's weakness. He had read in King Yama's book that earth dragons are fully armored and difficult for beginners to defeat. King Yama had designed an Achilles heel to act as an Easter egg for the game. If players find out about this, it should make the game more popular. Zhang had learned a lot from his stay in the palace, and clearly had more experience than the 3 ladies. Zhang attacks the monster alone while Xiaolu, Meng and Leng watch the scenery. However, Xiaolu quickly warns Zhang when she notices that the monster is about to release earth spikes. She tells him to retreat quickly. Zhang ignores her warning and pierces through the dangerous animal, slicing and sliding through it surprisingly. This did not eliminate the monster. The 3 girls notice a glowing area on its belly. They deduce that it must be its weak spot. Zhang says that severely damaging the earth dragon's belly will force it to briefly expose its weak spot. The weak spot location constantly shifts and the earth dragon no longer exposes its belly. Therefore, they must look out for another elimination method. Zhang thinks of another way and finally attacks the earth dragon again. He signals to Xiaolo to throw the thunder vines so the monster's movement and the use of earth spikes will be restrained. Explosive mines were also used to expose its belly and weak spot. Immediately, Zhang attacks again, weakening the monster. Xiaolo's thunder vine is already exhausted. Zhang saves the situation because he had purchased all the stocks of thunder vines and explosive mines available in the beginner's village, so they could use them in the dungeon. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, King Yama's servants have been sent to find the best players. They watch Zhang from a distance, stating that King Yama's intelligence is peerless, and it was impossible to begin to figure out his thoughts. If the system is not wrong, then the person in the cave is excellent. They look into further information about the player, and it displays Zhang's name. Zhang and his teammates eliminate the monster successfully as the ghost wave ends and the game mechanics return to normal. Leng is already at level 14. Zhang is at level 17. Xiaolo is at the same level as Leng, while Meng is at level 13. Xiaolo says she will log off and sleep. Meng also retires. Zhang says he wants to examine some things. Leng warns him never to get addicted to the game, as he should log off and rest for a while to avoid any body damage. Zhang pretends to listen, but will not stop adding up to his levels. After the exit of all his teammates, Zhang sits on a spot to meditate. His meditation is interrupted by Yama's attendants that were watching him during the dungeon battle. They attack him, stating that they want to witness the extent of his true powers. Zhang is confused but shields himself from their attacks. They bind him with a chain which absorbs his energy. Zhang changes to his golden outfit, breaking through the chains, with the intention of eliminating one of his attackers. However, his powers seem to be no match for them. His golden underworld outfit gets broken, while his normal equipment is restored. He resolves into activating his exclusive skill immediately. Zhang's activation causes them to retreat. He watches from a distance, wondering if the game settings did affect them, as they did not even terminate his ultimate technique. Zhang is perturbed because they came and left without any explanation. King Yama had told them to monitor him closely. His armor is shattered. Luckily for him, he could obtain a lot of good materials and can also forge another set at the beginner's village. He receives a system alert that says he has been chosen for the year's Fortunate Emperor of Hell title, and that he had also received the Super OP accessory as a reward. Zhang is not satisfied with the accessory and is even more infuriated when he is told never to remove the accessory. Otherwise, there will be a severe penalty for it. Zhang stops expressing his anger and pretends that he is grateful for the reward they have given him. He is back in the beginner village. He was disappointed to see that most players had lost everything they had the previous day, while some players had greatly raised their levels in the beginner's village. The players that had suddenly raised their levels were not even in the highest 50 ranks of tongue-ripping prison. How then did they become in the top 10? The players of tongue-ripping prison are getting stronger. It is just 3 more days until the month ends, as the top 5 will be able to challenge the Guardian boss, with the competition getting fiercer. This bothers Zhang greatly. He deduces that some of the players are monsters among men and he will have to work harder. While Zhang is lost in thoughts, player Leng approaches him. He was surprised that she had logged online quickly. One of her friends in the beginner village calls out to her, commending her for raising her level by 6 in just one night. Leng's friends interrogate her, asking her how she had managed to gain 6 points in one night. Leng explains to her eager friends, who are eventually infuriated that their own process is slower than Leng's. They want to quickly get to the next level. Leng inquires why they are so eager to upgrade their level. Her closest friend explains that at the 18th level of Hell, there is an officially arranged grand prize, and the first person to find the prize will be awarded riches that cannot be finished in 3 lifetimes. One of her other friends overhears them and lashes out at her for telling Leng after he had told her to keep it a secret between them. Leng did not know about the information because the official information is restricted to the top players only. They prepare to get out of the tongue-ripping prison before others take the lead. Another quest is given to the players. In the Great Desert, which is 30 miles away from the beginner's village, the rare underworld beast, a yellow springworm, has appeared, and the player that slays the yellow springworm will be awarded handsomely. The players rush quickly to the desert, even after finding out that the task is not an easy one. They have also decided to form an opposition against Leng and her friend. They plan to eliminate the 2 girls so they can inherit their resources. Zhang, who has been watching the whole drama, tries to save Leng. He pays a visit to the blacksmith shop to get new equipment. He must save Leng from the mistake she is about to make with the hypocrites that she refers to as her friends. She had not only failed to realize that she was in danger, Zhang was disappointed that she could not easily deduce the greed in their actions and the strange unnecessary questions they had asked her. Zhang purchases a set of armor from the blacksmith. She shows him the good sets of armor that are sold in the shop and tells him to pick any one he wants. However, none of the set or armor matches his taste. The blacksmith then suggests that he purchase the set in stock first, while he upgrades it with materials later. She also explains that the shop will not be providing the upgraded equipment, as he will have to gather it himself. He gathers all the items he needs. The blacksmith finds Zhang awesome because that is the first time she will be seeing high-quality equipment being synthesized in the beginner's village. She compliments him, and he thanks her for it and prepares to exit. She stops him for a while and gifts him with a mysterious furnace that he can use to refine and upgrade the items by himself in the future without having to visit a blacksmith. Zhang is delighted that she had given him something very valuable for free. She added that it is a limited edition, and not everyone has access to it. Zhang leaves unknown to him that the blacksmith had been sent by King Yama to make things easier for him. The blacksmith is asked to keep whatever has happened between Zhang and her a secret from any other person, as King Yama naturally has his own plans. Zhang sits somewhere in the beginner's village and decides to test the accessory he was told never to remove. He did not see it as something that would be of good use to him. He tries to activate a button he had found by the side of the bracelet to satisfy his curiosity. There is a spark that seems like one that is generated from electricity. Zhang looks as though he had just been electrocuted. The bracelet utilizes the latest AI technology, which can assist the player autonomously in the battle. The white bracelet mainly defends, whilst the black bracelet attacks. It functions automatically when worn, and it is safe and reliable. It possesses unparalleled power, which allows the player to enjoy their battles. The wearer will have their hand chopped off if the bracelet is handled roughly. The condition for activating the bracelet is demanding for Zhang. He expresses his frustration at the 2 deities for being aggressive towards the rules. Zhang's partner says that she had been waiting for him to come online for a while. He tells her that they must go somewhere quickly, but not necessarily waiting for the others. She asks where they are heading, and Zhang says that it is to save people. The other players who are eager to earn more points begin to get tired of running gradually. However, they must brazen up because everyone is aiming for the great dessert, and there will be nothing left if they are late. They begin to attack each other after a while to prevent each other from getting the reward. Zhang and one of his teammates decide to relax on their way. They tour through the area of tongue-pulling prison. The place is cool, but it gives a depressing feeling as sunlight can never shine on the environment. Zhang's friend is worried that they might never find Leng if they waste time in a place like that. Zhang tells her to calm down as it is part of his scheme. All they have to do is sit and wait. Zhang states that the greedy players will still need to borrow Leng's strength to subdue the yellow springworm. He wants to make sure that she is safe even before the yellow springworm appears. He further explains to her that it is the major reason why they have to wait patiently for the yellow springworm to appear. They take refuge in the makeshift tent that is in the area. His teammate asks if he knows when the yellow springworm will appear. He tells her to be calm as the yellow springworm will surely appear when it is time for it to appear. He says that the black and white impermanence deities that King Yama had sent to spy on him are still observing him, so it will be hard to reveal too many secrets at the time. She decides to let it rest and not bother with any other questions. However, she thinks about how Zhang had easily figured out the right strategy every time, how he had minimized risks for the optimum rewards. She feels very safe with him. Zhang jolts her into reality, asking that they take a nap before the yellow springworm finally appears. Zhang explains that the yellow springworm usually hides underground and only comes out when looking for food. It shakes the ground wherever it goes. There are people who have begun attacking it already. Zhang says they have to think of a way to find the head of the worm, because if the worm's head is not exposed, the players will not be able to find Lang. The bounty of killing the yellow springworm must not be snatched by others, Zhang had thought. The players used the wrong element to attack the springworm. Zhang and his teammate thought of a better way to eliminate the springworm. They finally reached a consensus. They decide to employ their logic and attack the yellow springworm. A player quickly tries to stop Zhang, telling him not to use the fire weapon as it will only make the worm stronger. Zhang agrees that since the yellow springworm's name implies water, it is a water element. However, he knew the right thing to do with the fire element, since he had read King Yama's book. He ignores the player and strikes the worm with the weapon. The attack breaks through the yellow springworm armor to the surprise of the other players. Zhang is now head-to-head with the springworm after breaking through its armor. He surprisingly gets a power he cannot explain. However, the yellow springworm is so powerful that it swallows Zhang. His teammate tries to save him, but is also attacked by the worm. He expects the deities in his bracelet to help him, but he soon finds out that he must save himself as they have the ability to free him from the restraint. But they have decided to maintain a defensive stance. Their task is not to watch him die, and it also does not include making him stronger in any way. The other players try to snatch the worm's head, but their efforts are futile. The next batch of players try to attack the springworm knowing that it still has a lot of stamina. They resolve to bide their time and attack when the opportunity comes, as there is still time for them to snatch the kill. They try, but they fail. The yellow springworm is very strong. It did not lose its stamina despite being surrounded by over 100 players. The yellow springworm loosens its binding as it has to move its body to attack other players. This gives Zhang the opportunity to save himself. To the shock of everyone, Zhang immediately frees himself from the grip of the worm. Its health deteriorates immediately. The issue gets more complicated as other players find out that Lang is in Zhang's team. Spinach arrives at the spot. Spinach, who is also on Zhang's team, tells the players to get away from the worm as they might be hit accidentally. Yuning, who is also on Zhang's team, tries to help. One of the players who tries to join Yu is silenced by another player who kills her to obtain more points. They decide to take advantage of the chaos and get Lang too, so that they can loot from her. They plan on taking all the resources she possesses so they can enjoy life in reality. Zhang had escaped from the yellow springworm through a hole it drilled underground, because the attacks above were overwhelming. He reunites with his teammates as they destroy random monsters that sprang up in the environment. Zhang decides to take revenge on the greedy players that had once killed him and had tried to hurt his friends. He says he is going to pay them back in their own coin and make them taste the feeling of everyone they had robbed. They beg Zhang to spare their lives. He asks them to quit the game, or go keep killing them anytime he sees them. Zhang decides to spare them as they will reincarnate. Killing them is certainly of no use. However, rendering them penniless is the best punishment. The yellow springworm had become weak at the time, and it would take a little effort to totally eliminate it. Some of the players are willing to compete with Zhang's team in eliminating the yellow springworm, while some of them have decided to retreat as they feel inferior to the team. Spinach continues to attack the springworm, while the other players to attack it alongside. The health bar of the yellow springworm begins to deteriorate as there are higher chances of killing it easily at that moment. Its energy is already drained, hence, any player can easily defeat it. Zhang also heads towards the yellow springworm without hurting any player. However, a player shoots arrows at him, so he will not get to the springworm before her. He is able to dodge most of the arrows successfully. However, he gets hit by one in an unexpected place. Mengmu arrives just in time to distract the player that had attacked Zhang. She tells Zhang to head straight for victory as she will take full control of the situation. Spinach and Lang also corner the yellow springworm to help Zhang access it easily. He activates the Azure Dragon armor. He becomes invincible to other players for a while, but is later visible. The moment Zhang almost strikes the yellow springworm, a player attacks his sword to prevent him from winning. Zhang's teammates attack the player that had tried to attack Zhang. He uses an extermination method to pierce through the springworm. He successfully kills the yellow springworm and obtains a Jinj War Drum, which increases his teammates' power by 15%. He also receives a new weapon called the Demon Blade. Zhang upgrades from level 17 to level 19. Mengmu upgrades from level 13 to level 16. Lang and Yu both upgrade from level 14 to level 17. The other players are jealous, and one of them even moves forward to attack Zhang before Spinach stops him. Zhang proposes to share the reward with them. They did not hesitate to show their envy and hatred, and stated that nothing would change, as they still needed to earn more points even after eliminating the yellow springworm. Zhang is aware that their intention is to earn all the points in 5 days, so that they can both face the first-level boss and eventually end up reducing him to nothing. Zhang does not hate them, nor does he wish to harm them, but they keep tempting him, and he must protect himself and his teammates. He must be ready within the next 5 days. They'd all return to the beginner's village. After 2 days, the whole situation was messed up, as the top 5 rankings did not really change much. The previous top 5 was a party, and they definitely wanted to push Zhang down. Zhang and the other 3 ranked below him are another team. These 2 groups are forced to fight to death, and it is impossible to challenge the boss. Zhang's teammates lash out at him for coming to a hotel to get a massage instead of farming for experience like the other teammates. He tells them to not be anxious, as he must get Seoluo and the rest of them to the top 5 if he is the only one in the top 5. He predicts that the other 4 will try to play dirty when challenging the boss. The other players work hard to level up before the fights. Most of them are Zhang's enemies, and they have vowed never to let him take the lead this time. They had even sent spies to bring him information on what he was doing every moment. One of the spies had reported that he was at the hotel relaxing. This infuriates them even more. Zhang, on the other hand, gets information that the fastest experience point in the tongue-ripping prison is present. Zhang stops his spa immediately to attend to the situation at hand. Zhang and his teammates successfully open the passageway to the side quest. They had answered a difficult question before they were given the opportunity to access the road passage to the side quest. However, they are not allowed to use weapons, as players can only rely on themselves to complete the challenge. The test is divided into 3 parts. The first is the agility test. Their outfit changes as they are told to catch 50 Netherworld Storm Carp before the bamboo rat falls off the cliff. Zhang tells them not to panic but to use their hands. They pass the agility test and are sent to the next level. The next is the test of cooperation. They are to squeeze and explode the depressed puffer fish without the use of any items. Zhang tries to use his hand, but he fails because the ball is too slippery. Meng Mu and Leng ignore Zhang as they both decide to cooperate by squeezing together with their bellies. Leng had figured that since it was a cooperation test, it would take 2 people to successfully squeeze and explode the depressed puffer fish. They squeeze together and eventually succeed at exploding one. Zhang Xiao and his teammates have the quest of exploding a 100 depressed puffer fish, and 2 of the girls have exploded one. They tell Zhang Xiao and the other girl that they can use anywhere else except their hands, and then proceed to explode another puffer fish with the fish between their bottoms. They make it to 5, and Zhang Xiao and the girl decide to give it a try, but she's shy because he's a guy, and there will be intimacy. They place a fish between their chests and try to explode it, but before they can, one of the other girls comes between them and kicks him away. She says the other girl will be on their team. Meanwhile, Little Wang and his team are in another phase of the competition, and they're wondering where Zhang Xiao and his teammates are. One of the ladies screams for the Little Wang to look out, and he is able to avoid an attack. She tells him to be focused. Then the rankings in the beginner's village have changed while the villagers gather around. They stare at the ranking and realize that Spinach had surpassed Little Wang, even though she was part of his team. They have all been raised a rank or 2 in Little Wang's team, but Zhang Xiao hadn't gone up any level, according to the live news. Meanwhile, in the trial palace, Zhang Xiao and his team are done with the depressed puffer fish quest and are moving on to the next one, and the girls feel that the place was eerie. Zhang Xiao tells them to follow him and advises that it wouldn't be easy, since it was a side quest that will give them experience. They are walking quietly with Zhang Xiao in the front when Yuning asks the blue-haired girl if she likes Zhang Xiao. She denies it, of course, but Yuning did not have it. She says she will help her. At that moment, the red-haired girl falls down and gets the attention of the others, who ask what was wrong. She stands up with something on her face while Zhang Xiao is oblivious of the monster behind him. Zhang Xiao soon realized that the spider-like things were on all the 3 girls' faces, and they had fallen fast asleep. He also realizes that their source was from a black spider behind him, and he falls asleep from its hallucinogenic gas. He finds himself in a place later, and was still wondering what the whole thing was about when a hand touched him and called him dear. He sees it to be Yu Ning, and she is on her knees saying how she is lonely, and wants him to spend some time with her. He agrees and smiles when the red-haired person appears from behind, saying she wants to join him too. They take off their clothes and the blue-haired soon joins, making them 3. He soon realizes that something was wrong though, and that it was a fact that it was an illusion. He snaps out of it to see the 3 girls still on the floor passed out, while the black spider was a girl now. She complains about how the King Yama had prevented her from attacking, but Zhang Xiao runs away, telling her to screw off. The girls wake up happy that they have gotten out of the illusion, and they are congratulated on passing the trial of Iron Will quest. They receive a reward for treasure and Zhang Xiao is surprised they hadn't expected it. He goes to help the girls, but the blue-haired girl still thinks he's a spider, making her punch him in the face, but she apologizes later as they move on. They ask him if he had really defeated the spider monster alone, and he remembers to check their ranks since they have gained so much experience. In the village, the news is still talking, and they're going on about how Zhang Xiao and his team should probably give up, as Little Wang and his team had occupied the best farming spot already. The rankings surprised them, though they soon realized that Zhang Xiao and his team had pushed Little Wang and his team from the top 5 spots. He was now 6 with Spinach above him. At this point, it is possible for him to challenge the tongue-gripping prison boss, and the boss says at home that it's his turn to take the stage. Little Wang is seen fighting the monsters, and he misses an attack as his teammates defend him from another monster. They said amongst themselves that he was fighting poorly nowadays, maybe because of stress. As they talk, the blonde Spinach receives information that she has been ranked 5th in the rankings and had the opportunity to fight the tongue-pulling prison guard boss. She tries to convince Little Wang to go to fight the 9-story ghost tower so as to go to the next level, but he says he doesn't want to do that. Instead, he wanted her to prevent the other 4 from winning. She says she would try and get transported to the arena. There, the other 4 were already there, saying how they wanted some rest and how Little Wang was angry since they had surpassed him. Zhang Xiao asks for Spinach cooperation as they fight the guard boss together, and she says she will act accordingly to the situation. The black and white impermanence dietes are talking amongst themselves too, and the black one says they should arrest and send Zhang Xiao to King Yama, since he was quite suspicious, but the white one says they should wait it out till he fights the boss. In the tongue-pulling prison guard boss's room, a servant comes in to tell him that the selected 5 were already waiting, and he said he was coming. Before he can go though, he gets stopped by a man with a green aura around him, and the 5 in the arena hear a scream. Spinach then goes on to explain the 9-story ghost tower to them, which was used in rising levels. It was much harder than it was before, and people were no longer getting promoted again as much as they did before. The man with the green aura turns out to be the Ghost Emperor, and he tells the tongue-pulling prison guard boss not to let the 5 go this time around. The guard boss was confused and he asked if he really meant he should kill them. The Eastern Ghost Emperor says that yes, he wanted to send a warning to King Yama that he had 100 ways to defeat him. The guard boss says the Emperor is wise, and the Emperor gives him a little gift asking him not to disappoint him. The 5 were still waiting, and they wondered when he would arrive. He soon arrives though carrying an apple, and he walks towards them. The teammates of Zhang Xiao are disgusted, and they attack, but the boss stops them, saying he hadn't said they could fight yet. He went to finish his apple. The girl is left speechless, but before she can react, the guard boss drops his saliva on her, making her have some corrosive damage. Zhang Xiao then shouts for everyone to be careful of the boss's saliva as it causes corrosive damage. Spinach, by the way, notices that something was off about the boss, as his defense level wasn't usually up to the maximum most times, but now it was. The girls attack the boss, bringing out their weapons, but he defeats them with one stroke, sending them to the floor. He raises his sword to send them off to the afterlife when Zhang Xiao appears, saying that he had to agree first before he does that. He uses his own sword to block the boss off when suddenly a bullet shot hits the guard boss, sending him flying. It was the red-haired girl that had fired it, and she came forward saying the guard boss couldn't stand against them. They start firing shots, weakening him, and Zhang Xiao activates his demon sword to finish him off. Before he can do so though, Spinach realizes that they are winning and she can't let them, so she shoots off an ice that sends Zhang Xiao to the ground. He wondered where the ice had come from. Zhang Xiao thinks to himself that the Spinach was causing trouble even though she hadn't helped once, and he tells Xiao Lu to take care of her. She proceeds to attack Spinach, but she flies out of the arena, making it hard for them to attack while she can still attack them from outside. The guard boss thinks she's helping him and says he will invite her to tea afterwards. Zhang Xiao tries to attack the guard boss, but he defends himself, saying Zhang Xiao couldn't beat him no matter how he tried. At that moment, he felt 2 slashes on his back and got confused, wondering if it was a ghost. It turns out to be Sister Leng, who had attacked him from behind sneakily. Spinach outside the arena realizes how dangerous the lady's sneak attacks were and decides to attack her using Descending Thunder. It strikes Leng to the floor, while Zhang Xiao gets surprised. He goes to help her while Xiao Lu tries to attack Spinach again, considering she has hindered their attacks twice now. The guard boss was grateful though, and he faced the 2 of them, saying even though they were quite powerful, they were about to meet their imminent doom then. He brings out the thing which the Ghost Emperor had given him and takes it, making his level rise to 28 from 25. Zhang Xiao is surprised and envious that he could just increase his levels by taking something. He tries to activate the demon sword to attack the guard boss, but he stops him, throwing him away, and the other two girls are surprised. The guard boss then picks up Zhang Xiao and Sister Lang and throws them to the other two teammates. He says he had been yearning for such power all along, and the Ghost Emperor had been right by saying he should kill them. Killing them much better, as he had to eat them and take their yangs. Spinach is puzzled and wonders if that was something an NPC could say. He comes after her though, saying she had cut his hair, and he drags her back into the arena before giving her a blow that knocks her off. He also does the same for Zhang Xiao. Zhang is in a tight spot as he is unable to overpower a monster whose skin has been reinforced, hence making it difficult to cut through it. They try to buy time so they can apply some enchantment to their weapons. Xiaola steps in to buy time for them by attacking the monster herself. Zhang objects to this immediately to protect her from danger. However, it was of no use because she had already made up her mind. The monster makes jest of her abilities and says that he could take care of her with just a flick of his finger. This infuriates her even more. Xiaola claims that Zhang had protected her so many times, and it was time for her to reciprocate. She activates the exclusive skill of 10,000 doubles. This gives her the ability to attack a single target with no reduction in stats. However, the user must be ready to suffer the damage dealt to all the copies. Xiaola ignores this and still resolves to use it. Her appearance changes to that of a war goddess, as it is part of the activation package. She attacks the monster with her full force. The other female players also join forces with her in a bid to buy time for Zhang. Even if they cannot eliminate the monster with their powers, he overpowers them by throwing them all in different directions. Zhang had already returned before any other move was made. The girls reactivate their energy while Meng activates her exclusive skill. Xiaola seems to be in deep trouble as the monster had her with him and was close to eliminating her before Zhang interfered. Zhang's weapon had been enchanted and ready for the battle. He resumes. Zhang activates the Azure Dragon's armor skill and attacks the monster with the unsullied golden light. Zhang also activates his exclusive skill, which causes blood loss. The combo is complicated. Zhang had endured for the sake of obtaining a weapon capable of defeating his foe. They eliminate the monster successfully as Zhang's exclusive skill was the strongest. The report stated that the top 5 players of tongue-ripping prison had descended to the 2nd level of hell. This infuriates the Demon King, who trashes the Yaksha King, saying that he cannot stop Zhang and his team. They prepare for a battle with Zhang. Zhang and his team are back to the beginner village as they are congratulated for successfully entering the next level. They were the only players at the beginner's village, which seemed a bit strange to them. The gate is also locked, and even if they want to leave, it will not be possible. There is also no guiding NPC to state if any urgent quest needs to be completed. They hear noise from a distance and decide to check out what is happening. They see a set of different creatures dining together. Zhang asks for a way out of the beginner's village. He is attended to by the guide of the beginner village area, who is called Know-It-All. They inquire if he can open the gate for them. He says he can, but according to the rule, they have to hand over a treasure in exchange. However, the main intention of the village area guide is to extort Zhang and his teammates, as they have not heard any news from the Ghost Emperor yet. Zhang removes his accessory reward to hand over to the guide. The reward changes into an underworld pet. The village guide asks Zhang to get the pet in return for opening the gate. He refuses to hand over the pet and says he will give her something else instead. The village guide suddenly gets exasperated and says he will only take the underworld pet, else a mini-battle. His teammates assemble in a short while. Zhang teaches them a lesson as he defeats all of them with little effort. He warns the village guide to do his job without trying to extort from others. Zhang then requests to be given a quest as a player. The village guide agrees to give him a quest only after he trains his underworld pet. His underworld pet is a spider spirit that needs to be tamed. Zhang has never had an underworld pet. It is difficult for him to take care of her. The village guide tells him that underworld pets have their own special parts. If one is unable to pinpoint the location, he'll have to give every inch of the body a few tries. This infuriates Xiaola, who threatens to eliminate the underworld pet. The village guide calms Xiao, telling her that the spirit spider is beneficial to their team. He explains that there is a deep fire abyss in the northwest area of the prison. The deep fire abyss is bottomless, and the cliff wall is as smooth as a knife. Only spider spirits can crawl. It would be impossible for them to complete the quest without the spider. There is also a rare treasure that can be collected under the abyss of fire. He further explains all that they need to know while Zhang and his teammates head over to the deep fire abyss. Meanwhile, the village guide has seen a bad omen to Zhang's body, as his life is likely to end soon. He did not tell Zhang. As they walk to the deep fire abyss, one of his teammates asks for the secret of the game they were playing. Zhang tries to tell her, but is attacked by an unknown force. The voice warns him to not tell the secret to anyone. The The people behind the voice show themselves to Zhang. They were the two ladies he had fought with at the dungeon. He deciphers that King Yama must have sent them to him. They threaten him to reveal how he got to know the secret in the first place. They examined him after noticing that his face looked pale and tired. He says he has been getting weaker since he entered Scissor's prison. He asks if it is their doing while they defend their intentions. They explain that the Yaksha King had cast a health depletion curse on Zhang Xiao. They try to lift the curse on him, but it was already too late. Shang begins to lose consciousness as his health deteriorates. He dies and wakes up as King Yama. The four ghost emperors attack King Yama. It is at the time that Zhang had died on his way to the deep fire abyss and had woken up in King Yama's body. His attendant steps in to protect him. Her efforts are futile as the emperor is powerful. However, King Yama is able to resist his attacks. The ghost emperor is confused as he has completed the quest already. They must prevent Yama from breaking through the formation. They use the blood sacrifice reinforcement method. The four emperors are sacrificing blood to seal him at the cost of 100 years of cultivation to avoid them dying by his hand. Yama loses consciousness. King Yama and Zhang meet with each other during the unconscious state of King Yama's body. His soul seal is active since Zhang's soul has traversed into his body. They are only able to meet at a time like that. Zhang asks him why the four ghost emperors want to kill him. He explains that all the ghost emperors will not obey his orders because he had refused to collect the yang energy from the players. 3 years ago, he was one of the 10 Yama kings, while the four ghost emperors were higher than him in position. However, Emperor Fengdu was the supreme master of the underworld. King Yama explains that there was a shortage of spirits and spiritual energy in the underworld at that time, and the 18 levels of hell were in jeopardy. Emperor Fengdu had acknowledged his talents and enthroned him as the new Lord of Hell. He had developed the game of Hades to absorb the yang energy of the players so as to nourish the underworld. Last year, his lifespan was exhausted, and he turned to dust. This gave the chance for the Ghost Emperor's mischief. He had been their enemy since he opposed them, while they were planning to rob Yang of energy. He had opposed it because robbing the Yang energy would destroy the balance between the two worlds. Zhang inquires as to why he is able to traverse into Yama's body. Yama explains that this is possible because he had given himself a particular character during the internal phase of the game. The character seems to align with Zhang's attributes. Although the probability of it happening based on the reason he had given is rare, it still happened. King Yama decides to collaborate with Zhang to oppose the emperors. He transmits all his memories to Zhang to make the game easier for him. He tells Zhang to find Fengying as she is in possession of a very important key. He helps Zhang get back to the beginner village alive after asking him to protect his subordinates. King Yama uses a manifestation to save his attendant that all the emperors had severely injured. He transports her away quickly because she has something important and the emperor will not let her go easily. They notice that the manifestation has left his body and use it as an advantage to attack him. They all bind him, knowing that he had lost his ability to resist. However, they are perturbed that he sacrificed himself for the safety of his attendant. The manifestation of the god of the underworld was a final card. It is strange that he sent the manifestation to save the girl. They begin to suspect that she must have something valuable. They trap King Yama and proceed to lock down his game as all the players online cannot log off. This gives them the opportunity to consume them all. However, there was no way to activate the game server as his attendant must have been transported with it. They search his library but are unable to find anything. They seized other attendants, threatening them and asking to know where the key to the server was placed. The other attendants refused to let out the information, stating that they will never find Fengying, who is the attendant Yama had entrusted with the key. Zhang is welcomed back to the game of Hades. His soul has been sent back by the god of the underworld, but he must find Feng before the emperors find her. He is not sure of where she had been sent to in the corner of the Scissors prison, but he heads there directly. Feng is in possession of the admin key of the game of Hades, which is why the Ghost Emperors are after her to gain access and lock down the whole game. Zhang sets out to find his teammates to make finding Feng easier. He is cornered by Yama's servant, who misunderstands him. He shows Yama's manifestation of the god of the underworld and tells them to release him. They are shocked. Zhang explains everything that had happened when he died and how he met King Yama to his servants. They withdrew. They are heartbroken that Yama was captured by the four Ghost Emperors. Zhang asks them to help him in every possible way they can help as he will appreciate their assistance. They agree to help him since he already has King Yama's backing. He asks them to change their clothes as they must maintain a low profile. The two of them are ostentatious, and it would be bad to be tailed. Zhang recovers his accessory. Meanwhile, Zhang's teammates have arrived at the fire abyss, which is several thousand meters deep, and the cliff face is also very smooth. There is no place to descend to. It will be difficult to go down. It is also very hot, and anyone would be roasted alive if they tried to fly down its bottom. They They wait for Zhang before making any further decisions. He finds them as they express their delight. However, after explaining everything that had happened to him while he was away, they are terrified. It is even more disturbing to come to terms with the fact that they are no longer playing a game. Hence, it is reality. They cannot afford to be careless because it can lead to their own death. He asks them to log off immediately if they are not capable, and they should never come back. They are worried about Zhang, so they all decide to stay and fight with him. They all team up again to eliminate the 4 ghost emperors. There was a sudden roar from the underworld. They suspect that it could be some ghosts. Zhang finds something wrong because, according to King Yama's design in the abyss, there should not be any living thing around. Zhang sends his spider spirit pet to the abyss. His teammates are worried that something might go wrong with the spider silk. Zhang reminds them of what they were told by the village guide. However, he still asks the little spider to come back if it is not endurable. His pet assures him that everything is under control. The pet reports to Zhang that she can see the Liuang pearls. She finds them and gathers them up for Zhang. She reports that many of the crevices are empty, and it might be hard to fulfill the requirement of 30. The teammates conclude that someone must have been there before them, or the pearls must have fallen into the lava. The pet decides to look around if she can find more. A monster suddenly springs up from the pit of the fire and tries to swallow the spider spirit pet. Zhang quickly brings her up alongside the help of his teammates. The huge monster follows the pet to the top of the abyss even after Zhang had pulled her out. Zhang knew the settings must have been tampered with because the magma dragon that had shown up was supposed to be at the quicksand river of Scissors, Hell, instead of appearing there. Zhang protects his spider spirit pet against the attack of the magma dragon. However, the monster's attributes are too high for them. They try to get water attribute weapons. They defeat the magma dragon only to find the pearls in its belly. It had attacked them for taking its Liuang pearls. Zhang finds out that the whole happening is a trap, while the bait was the Liuang pearls. Only the village guard can explain what has happened. One of the village guide workers reports to him that the emperor was able to seal King Yama, but is unable to lock the game. The latest order is to lower the difficulty in order to maintain the player experience. This will keep the players from leaving. He also reports that the magma dragon has been slain and Zhang and his teammates are on their way to settle their debts with him. He sends ghosts to attack Zhang and his teammates immediately so he can prevent them from coming. They eliminate the ghosts one by one. Zhang tries to think of a way to find Feng without having to go through the surveillance of the village guide. Feng, on the other hand, is in the Stone Dagger Forest. She is severely injured but had held out to protect what King Yama had given her to keep. Feng hides after hearing the voices of 2 unknown men. One of them says he is in the forest trying to capture the strongest Earth-type alien beasts in the Scissors prison, as there are many of them in the area. Capturing them will help him upgrade his weapons. Perhaps they were referring to her. Feng, on the other hand, can defeat them, but she must not make such a move as she might be found by anyone who will spread the news of her hiding place. This will lead the Ghost Emperors to her easily. The latest mission that is assigned to the players is to capture Zhang and his teammates for a reward of gold coins and rare crystals. They are provided with the information of their location as the players head straight to the beginner's village to find them. They had received the instruction not to capture but kill them on the spot. These were all planned by the village guide, who has the desire to eliminate Zhang and his team before they get to him. Zhang and his teammates attack the village guide and his generals from behind from a different route. The village guide tries to escape through a hole from the roof. Zhang's teammates are on alert and scared that they might lose him. Zhang calms them down, stating that he will never be able to escape. Zhang has perfectly drawn out a capture plan. If you like this recap, do let me know in the comments, and obviously leave your likes too. Do not forget to share with your friends and subscribe. Above all, activate your notification bell so you don't miss the next recap when it drops. Until next time, do take care and stay safe.